All right, cosmic family of Taurus, gather round and let's tune into something truly special today. Before we dive deep, I want to ask you something that's been tickling at the edges of my intuition, and maybe yours too. Have you felt it? That subtle shift in the very air of your home. A whisper of change rustling through your familiar spaces. It's not a storm, not a disruption, but more like a gentle nudge from the universe, hinting that something new is ready to blossom in your life, starting right within the walls you call home. If this resonates, if you felt this quiet stirring, I want you to do something for me right now. In the comments below, type, "I am ready to receive." Let's set the intention together, right here, right now, and watch the beautiful unfolding begin. Because what we're about to explore today, my dear Taurus souls, is all about how a shift in your home energy is not just rearranging your furniture, but actually paving the way for unexpected wealth and abundance to flow into your life. Stay with me, because this is going to be illuminating. Isn't it fascinating how often we sense things before we can quite put words to them? That's the Taurus intuition, my friends. Deeply grounded, keenly perceptive, feeling the subtle vibrations of the universe long before they become obvious to the everyday mind. Maybe this feeling arrived as a lingering glance at a room that suddenly felt different, or an unexplainable urge to declutter a corner you usually overlook. It's not unease, not anxiety, but a gentle, persistent call for attention from your space itself. It's like your home is saying, "Taurus, are you listening? It's time for a change. A beautiful transformation is ready to begin, and it starts right here." Take a moment right now, wherever you are, just to settle in. Let your shoulders relax, your breath soften. Feel the support beneath you, the space around you. There's no rush, no pressure here. This is simply about tuning in, about listening to that inner wisdom that always guides you. Because when the very foundation of your inner world starts to shift, the outer world, the life you've built upon it, naturally follows suit. And Taurus, this isn't about losing your footing. Oh no, quite the opposite. This is about deepening your roots, about becoming even more grounded, more aligned with the abundant earth energy that is your birthright. Imagine the lotus flower, rooted in the mud, yet blossoming into exquisite beauty. That's the energy we're tapping into today. You are already holding this sacred space within you, open, quiet, still. You don't need to earn your way into abundance. You are already inherently deserving of it. If there's been a whisper within you, a gentle nudge towards something more, something truer, please listen to it. This isn't about abandoning what you cherish, but about seeing it with fresh eyes, about creating space for something even more magnificent that's been patiently circling your orbit, waiting for your energy to catch up. Have you been feeling that subtle hum of change, that nameless shift in the atmosphere around you? Stay close, dear Taurus, because the very thing you might be brushing aside, that seemingly insignificant detail, could be the key to unlocking a whole new level of abundance in your life. And as we journey deeper into this exploration, you'll begin to understand why it was never just about the physical space, but about the incredible, expansive self that is ready to flourish within it. Has the rhythm of your home, your sanctuary, felt different lately, even in ways you can't quite articulate? Tell me about it in the comments below. Just whispering it into existence, acknowledging that shift, is a powerful step in itself. I'm ready to receive, remember? So let's journey back to where this subtle shift quietly began. To that moment when the air seemed to still, and your familiar space started to resonate with a note that was unfamiliar. That's where the current of change first stirred, and it's still gently calling you now. There are moments, aren't there, when the spaces we've always called home start to speak in a different language? For you, dear Taurus, whose soul thrives in the comforting embrace of stability, this kind of shift can be almost imperceptible at first. Just a slight heaviness in the air, a quiet coolness in corners that once radiated warmth, or a subtle tension beneath the surface of your favorite, most comforting chair. You might find yourself pausing at the doorway a little longer than usual, not because you're eager to rush out, but because the air inside no longer carries that same familiar, welcoming embrace. It's not chaos, it's not distress, it's something far more subtle, far more profound. It's the early whisper of stagnation, a kind that creeps in so silently, so gently, when energy stops flowing freely and begins to collect, becoming still, unseen, almost dormant. This isn't about something being broken or wrong. It's simply a signal, a gentle nudge from the universe. Not a shout, not a dramatic alarm, but a quiet settling into your breath, a subtle heaviness in your sleep, a tightening in your chest for no apparent reason. You might begin to notice that the very room that once held you like a lullaby now feels just a touch too full, too dim, too heavy. The energy isn't angry or hostile, it's simply asking for air, for light, for movement. What once lovingly protected you, nurtured you, is no longer in perfect alignment with the magnificent being you are becoming. And so, the walls, the bed, the desk, even that pile of clothes you've walked past 100 times without noticing, all of it starts to pulse with a quiet, insistent invitation. Make room, Taurus. You, dear Taurus, have always possessed this incredible gift for holding space, holding steadiness, holding the people and things you love so dearly. But now, your space, your home, is gently calling you to explore the opposite, to release. Not because you've failed to care for it, not at all, but because you have grown, you have expanded, you have evolved beyond the shape it was originally designed to contain. What once felt grounding now feels dense. What once offered comfort now gently demands renewal. This isn't about fleeting trends, not about minimalist aesthetics or some rigid set of feng shui rules. This is about pure energy, about vibration, about frequency. And when the very air within your home no longer dances, when it feels stagnant and still, the flow of abundance in your life can begin to subtly thin out as well. Because flow, my friends, follows breath. And breath simply cannot move freely through spaces that have been untouched, unrenewed for too long. So where do we begin? Start small, dear Taurus. Let your hands lead the way, before your thoughts even have a chance to catch up and overthink. Gently touch that drawer you haven't opened in years. Hold that old scarf, that dried up pen, that little trinket you'd completely forgotten you even possessed. And listen. Listen to what they whisper to you. If something feels like it's holding the weight of a past version of yourself, gently, lovingly, set it down. This isn't about discarding memories, it's about releasing static, about making space for vibrant new energy to flow in. Sometimes, the very energy of money, of opportunity, of crystal clear clarity waits just beyond a seemingly small shift, a rearranged shelf, a new scent in the air, a fresh ray of sunlight illuminating a previously shadowed corner. You don't need a full renovation, Taurus. You simply need to rebreathe the space that breathes with you And when you do, when you create that gentle shift, something subtle, something magical, begins to stir. The room no longer echoes with tension, but hums with a quiet anticipation, a gentle readiness. Not everything will transform overnight, of course, but the signal has been sent, and most importantly, it has been received by you and by the universe. And you've responded, not with force or frantic energy, but with softness, with gentle permission. Maybe that small act of rearranging wasn't just about the physical room at all. Maybe it was your soul, quietly, instinctively, making space, preparing a welcoming embrace for something it finally feels ready to receive. And from that quiet, intentional shift, dear Taurus, we begin to follow the breath inward, towards what has long been buried, yet never truly gone. There's a certain kind of quiet that doesn't come from mere silence, but from the echoes of memory. Not the loud, dramatic, cinematic memories, but the soft, shadowed, almost forgotten ones. The scent of an old pillowcase, a song you haven't heard in years. The way a kitchen light flickered in that very same way when you were 6 years old. Taurus, you might not consciously notice it right away, but something deep within you is reaching backward, not to relive the past, but to gently remember. Because a part of you, your wise Taurus soul, innately knows that your foundation wasn't built in isolation. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That inexplicable tug in your chest, the sudden urge to open a drawer you've ignored for years, the subtle heaviness behind your eyes when you glance at a photo you usually just walk past. These aren't random occurrences, my friends. These are echoes. Your body often knows, senses, remembers, long before your conscious mind catches up. A part of your past is rising, not to haunt you, but to lovingly guide you. The ancestors, the ones who came before you, are whispering now, not in words, but in weight. And that weight is gently asking, is the safety you've so carefully built still truly serving you? Or has it become just familiar? For you, Taurus, safety is sacred. You build it with intention, with care. You protect it like a cherished hearth. But even the sturdiest walls need tending, need renewal. And sometimes, what we perceive as unwavering stability is simply a memory we haven't consciously updated. The ingrained feeling that money should always be saved, never truly enjoyed. The belief that joy must be earned through tireless effort. The persistent sense that enough is always just slightly out of reach. These aren't universal truths, dear Taurus. They are often inherited impressions, passed down through generations, subtly folded into your nervous system, etched into the very rhythm of your breath. But here's the empowering truth. Foundations can be relaid. You don't need to erase your past to grow magnificently beyond it. You simply need to allow those old limiting beliefs to exhale. That quiet fear you carry, the feeling of being too much, the subtle guilt that arises when you desire more, the hesitation that creeps in when someone offers you ease. None of it is solely yours. Some of it may belong to your mother, your grandmother, or to women whose names you may never even know, but whose unspoken longings you've unconsciously carried within you. This moment isn't asking you to be fiercely brave, Taurus. It's asking you to be gently soft, to sit quietly with those objects that still hum with old stories, to light incense, not out of mere tradition, but as a way to say, I see you, I hear you, and I am moving forward now, carrying your strength, but releasing what no longer serves my path. Let your fingers trace the outline of that old necklace, the faded recipe card, that scrap of cloth. Let them speak to you, and when they do, let their voices gently dissolve into something lighter. Not gone, not erased, just freed. And if there are beliefs nestled deep within your body that feel like unmovable stones, beliefs about what you're allowed to want, how safe you must be, how much you're supposed to hold, write them down. Let them see the light of day. Let them breathe the fresh air of awareness. Then gently, consciously, let them go. Not with force, not with struggle, but with the same quiet grace they arrived in. The kind of quiet that creates room for a deeper breath. The kind that makes space for beautiful new beginnings, even in the most familiar, most cherished places. Because sometimes the richest, most transformative shifts come not from relentlessly reaching forward, but from turning gently inward, from asking yourself, with genuine curiosity and compassion, what am I still holding on to that someone before me couldn't quite put down? The very air in your home moves differently, feels lighter, more vibrant, when we release what was never truly meant to be ours to carry. And from that spaciousness, something ancient loosens its grip, creating room for something beautifully unfamiliar, something truly aligned with your soul's deepest desires to rise. Sometimes, abundance begins so softly, so subtly, you might almost miss it. The smallest wish folded into a breath, a quiet thought that gently passes through your awareness as you stir your morning tea or wait for the traffic light to change. Taurus doesn't declare with fanfare. Taurus doesn't demand with urgency, but somewhere in the quiet spaces between your daily routines, you've been asking for more ease, more warmth, for enough to no longer feel like a restrictive ceiling, but like a solid, expansive ground you get to build upon. Not everyone may have heard it, that quiet, heartfelt request, but something did. The universe, my friends, is not deaf to subtlety, especially not when it emanates from a heart as deeply loving, as consistently generous as yours. A heart that has always loved through quiet offering, through tireless effort, through unwavering steadiness, while the world around you spun in chaos. And now, something beautiful is beginning to respond, not in dramatic lightning bolts or sudden windfalls, but in small, specific, perfectly timed shifts. The timing of a message, the lingering warmth of a conversation, the unexpected softness in someone's gaze when you least anticipate it. You don't need to brace yourself, Taurus. You don't need to prepare for some overwhelming wave you can't even see coming. This isn't that kind of energy. What's approaching is not disruptive, but coherent. It doesn't crash in, it harmonizes, and it begins to flow more clearly, more tangibly, when you simply say yes to it, without conditions, without hesitation. And that yes doesn't necessarily mean grand action. It means alignment. It means standing firmly with both feet on the ground of your own truth and saying to that quiet pulse in your chest, "Okay, I see you. Let's try this." The channel to abundance doesn't open through frantic striving, Taurus. It opens through gentle presence, money, opportunity, material warmth. They follow the path of least resistance. And for you, dear Taurus, resistance often subtly hides in modesty, in the ingrained instinct to want just enough, to never ask for too much, to make absolutely certain you're never perceived as greedy or excessive. But what if it's not excess at all? What if it's actually the exact capacity you were born to carry? You were made for abundance, Taurus, not because you demand it, but because you hold it so beautifully, so responsibly. because you understand how to keep things sacred, because you instinctively remember how to truly stay present, grounded, and grateful. Now, in this powerful moment, it's time to name it, to bring the intangible into the tangible realm of language. Not with urgency, not with pressure, but with crystal clear clarity. Write it down, Taurus, not as a desperate plea, but as a powerful recognition. I am ready to live in a space that perfectly matches the abundance I carry within. I welcome in ease that feels richly earned, but not fiercely fought for. I receive with open hands, without gripping. Let these statements be gentle invitations, not tense negotiations. Let them grace your mirror. Tuck them beneath your pillow. Let them subtly settle into the air of your home, like a slow-burning incense that gently shifts the entire atmosphere without needing to shout. Taurus, you don't need to manifest harder. You simply need to stop whispering when your heart truly means yes. You need to allow the current to carry the message you've perhaps been afraid to say out loud. Because what's coming is not a reward you must earn. It's a perfect match to your inherent frequency, to your quiet readiness, to that deep, wise part of you that has waited long enough. And when that signal is sent, not just from your conscious mind, but from the very body that has always known what it truly needs, the energetic field around you begins to gently bend, precisely, unmistakably. No forceful push, no frantic energy, just the slow, graceful opening of a door that has been patiently waiting for you to stop pretending you didn't knock. And from behind this newly opened door, the next layer of abundance begins to shimmer, not louder, not bigger, but more intimately yours than ever before. There are certain feelings, aren't there, that we don't often name out loud, not because they aren't profoundly real, but because they've taken deep root in the silence of our inner world. Taurus, you hold things deeply, not just memories, but atmospheres. The subtle shift in someone's tone, a look that lingered just a fraction too long, a moment when comfort didn't quite arrive, and no one ever truly explained why. Sometimes, it's not the loud betrayals that shape us most profoundly, but the soft absences. The hand that didn't quite reach back, the word of reassurance that didn't quite arrive, the hug that came too late, or perhaps not at all. And somehow, even now, your body remembers. It's not a conscious clench, not a dramatic tension, but a deep, slow knot, a quiet bracing that you unconsciously carry into new rooms, into important choices, into how much safety you truly allow yourself to feel. And because Taurus lives so deeply through the body, your body becomes the gatekeeper, the very place where old tenderness was subtly interrupted, where protection was sometimes misconstrued as silence. You may not consciously connect it directly, but every time you subtly doubt whether ease can truly last, or question if you're allowed to receive without immediately giving something back, there's often a thread subtly leading back to one woman, or perhaps many. Maybe it was your mother, your grandmother, or that friend who simply didn't understand your innate softness. Or perhaps it wasn't a specific person at all, but a younger version of yourself who learned too early that vulnerability equaled risk, that needing meant weakness, that the safest way to navigate the world was to be unwaveringly steady, endlessly useful, perfectly contained. And so you learned to love through holding it all together. You became the calm center, the unwavering pillar, the one who didn't shake, no matter the storm. But deep inside that stillness, something delicate, something deeply precious, got subtly pressed down. A part of you that longed not just to give, but to be gently held, without having to ask, without having to prove your worthiness. This, my dear Taurus, is often where the current of abundance subtly slows, where the natural stream of receiving falters, not because you aren't inherently worthy, not for a single moment, but because a deep, often unconscious part of you still believes you're supposed to earn every single drop of goodness that comes your way. And that ingrained belief, that subtle pattern, creates a gentle, almost invisible block. Not obvious, not dramatic, just enough to make abundance hesitate, just enough to keep true joy circling your home, not quite sure if it's truly, wholeheartedly invited in. But Taurus, it is absolutely, unequivocally not too late to gently shift this pattern. The way forward is not through forceful action, not through confrontation, not even through a lengthy, complicated conversation. It's through gentle, inner permission, spoken inwardly, softly, to that younger version of yourself that never truly got to rest, that never felt fully seen in her softness and vulnerability. You don't need to fix what happened in the past, Taurus. You only need to gently feel what never had space to be felt. Sit with it, without judgment, without asking it to immediately disappear. Allow yourself to grieve the absences that subtly shaped you, the unspoken needs that were never quite met. Let that ache widen into something softer, more compassionate. If there's a message left unsent, a word left unspoken, write it wow. Not to change the unchangeable past, but simply to let it breathe, to give it form, to acknowledge its presence within you. You don't have to mail it, Taurus. You don't even have to read it again. Just the simple act of giving shape to what you've unconsciously swallowed is often enough to gently shift the weight. You are not betraying your inherent strength by softening, dear Taurus. You are actually completing it, bringing a beautiful wholeness to your being. And when you whisper forgiveness, not to the other, but to that small, quiet voice inside you that learned to shrink, you'll feel something loosen. Not just in your mind, but in the very air of your home, in the space around your chest, in those corners of your sanctuary that haven't felt truly light in a while. That's where the current of abundance will begin to hum again, Taurus. Not because you demanded it, not because you forced it into existence, but because your own beautiful, courageous heart has finally, gently made space for it to land. And it's from that quiet, open, unguarded, almost newborn place that the deeper current of abundance begins to rise, not forward into the future, but gently inward, drawing the next profound truth to the surface without force, only gentle invitation. It's easy, isn't it, to settle into fine, to create a life where nothing is overtly wrong, but nothing is really moving either. Taurus, you know this feeling better than most. The quiet comfort of routines, the predictable rhythm of familiar patterns, the way safety wraps around you like a weighted blanket. Quiet, steady, dependable. But there's a subtle kind of stillness that isn't true peace. A kind that slowly, almost imperceptibly, tightens around your boundless potential, even as it softly whispers, "This is enough." And when that whisper becomes an ingrained belief, something subtle but vitally important begins to slow down. The very current of receiving. You weren't made for chaos, Taurus. That's absolutely true. But you also weren't made to stand completely still. There is profound growth that blossoms from quiet presence, and there is equally vital growth that arises from gentle motion. Taurus doesn't leap impulsively, but Taurus moves with unwavering purpose. And right now, that purpose is being quietly called forward, not in grand, dramatic gestures, not in reckless, impulsive change, just in the soft, persistent invitation to gently shift something, anything, away from where it has always been. Because money, opportunity, abundance, they simply don't naturally arrive where energy has drifted into a state of quiet sleep. And sometimes, abundance doesn't require more frantic effort. It simply needs new air. You may have already noticed it, that gentle nudge to take a slightly different route home, that subtle pull to sit in an unfamiliar corner of your favorite cafe, that almost imperceptible half-second pause before reaching for the same cup, the same seat, the same small, comforting habit. These aren't mere accidents, Taurus. They are signals, gentle invitations to stir the stagnant, to awaken the dormant. And when you answer them, gently, consciously, you create space for life to respond, not by giving you more in a forceful way, but by simply flowing again. Because flow, my friends, simply cannot naturally find you when you're anchored firmly in the very center of a circle you've unconsciously refused to step outside of. This isn't about making drastic, life-altering moves, Taurus. It's about gifting your energy a fresh direction, shifting just one small thing in your external world so that your vast, wise internal world knows, consciously feels, that it is truly, wholeheartedly allowed to open. Go to that cafe you've always walked past, but never entered. Sit in that chair you usually ignore. Gently rearrange your desk, change the scent in your room, and then ask for a sign, not from a place of desperation or neediness, but from a place of open willingness. Let the universe know, in your own quiet, powerful way, that you're not just passively waiting to be chosen, but that you are already actively choosing yourself. Taurus, the very ground beneath your feet has always been your sacred temple, your sanctuary. But even temples, in their own time, evolve. What once beautifully held you may now, in this season of your life, be subtly holding you back. Not because it's inherently wrong, but simply because you are magnificently growing, expanding into your fullest potential. And those parts of you that are quietly yearning for more ease, more expansion, more unwavering support, aren't asking out of greed or insatiable desire. They are asking because they deeply sense a profound readiness within you. And readiness, true readiness, isn't loud or ambitious. It's about inner capacity. When you gently shift something, anything, in your outer world, life itself gently moves towards you, not because you forced it, but because you gracefully allowed the natural current to gently resume its flow. The deepest truth is, dear Taurus, staying exactly the same doesn't protect you the way it once did. It only subtly delays what is already beautifully, inevitably, on its way to you. And you don't need to frantically run towards it, Taurus. You simply need to gently show the universe that you're not resisting its flow, that you are willingly, joyfully open to being met halfway, that you are ready to embrace a new kind of enough, one that feels not just undeniably safe, but also beautifully expansive, not just comfortably familiar, but vibrantly alive. So pause, breathe deeply, and gently shift something. Let one small, intentional move be the first ripple in a vast, transforming ocean. Let one quiet, heartfelt yes be the powerful signal that sets everything beautiful into motion. The door to abundance doesn't need to swing wildly open, Taurus. It just needs to unstick. And when it does, the very energy around you will subtly sense the shift, not in volume, but in a profound change of tone. And in that gentle, yet powerful shift, the next breathtaking moment begins to beautifully shape itself, carrying you further, not faster, but infinitely truer to your soul's deepest path. Perhaps it was once protective, that ingrained habit of subtly shrinking your desires until they neatly fit inside the palms of your hands. That quiet, almost instinctive urge to softly whisper, "This is enough," even when a wise, knowing part of you gently whispered otherwise. Taurus has always known how to gracefully live within perceived limits, not because you lacked inherent capacity, but because you've carried the beautiful, yet sometimes heavy weight of making sure everything, everyone, stays safely intact. But enough, dear Taurus, is not always sacred. Sometimes, enough becomes a subtle shield, a soft, well-meaning way of quietly saying, "I'll willingly take less," so that nothing spills, nothing overflows, nothing disrupts the carefully maintained equilibrium. And yet, there's something powerful stirring within you now, isn't there? Not loud, not demanding, just undeniably present, a gentle nudge from deep within that no longer wants to simply settle. Not because it needs more to prove its inherent worth, but because it finally, deeply believes it can gracefully hold more, receive more, expand more, without losing its precious, hard-earned balance. This is the very beginning of the shift, Taurus. This is the potent moment when enough gently stops being your self-imposed ceiling and begins to transform into your expansive, solid floor. You have done the quiet, consistent inner work. You have stayed steady when it would have been so much easier to simply walk away. You have offered unwavering steadiness when everything around you seemed to demand chaotic noise. And now, the generous universe is offering something breathtakingly beautiful in return. Not as a transactional exchange, not as a reward to be earned, but as a pure, radiant reflection of the sacred space you have so lovingly cleared, of the quiet strength you have so diligently built, of the profound readiness that doesn't need to be proven anymore, because it is already undeniably true in your very energy. There is absolutely nothing greedy or selfish about wanting more room to breathe, Taurus. There is nothing wrong with dreaming of a life where you don't just tirelessly make it work, but where life itself joyfully, effortlessly works for you. Taurus is not about reckless excess, not about frantic chasing, not about demanding more than you deserve. But what you carry within you, dear Taurus, is profound depth. And depth deserves a container wide enough, expansive enough, to truly hold it without subtly squeezing the very life out of it. So, write it down now, Taurus. Not a fleeting wish list, but a powerful reclamation. 3 things you once quietly told yourself were too much, too far, too big for you to even dream of. Name them now, not as distant dreams, but as tangible realities your magnificent new self innately knows how to gracefully hold. Not because you've suddenly become someone entirely different, but because you've finally, courageously, stopped apologizing for your boundless capacity. That younger version of you, who used to softly whisper, "Maybe someday," is now being joyfully invited to confidently declare, "Now." Receiving abundance doesn't require permission from anyone outside of yourself, Taurus. It requires only your own unwavering presence from deep within. The kind of presence that quietly, powerfully declares, "I no longer have to brace myself. I no longer have to negotiate with joy. I am not passively waiting to be chosen. I have already chosen this. Chosen it by staying soft, by staying open, by staying true to my heart, in a world that often taught me to harden." This is what the new frequency feels like, Taurus. Not forceful push, not anxious performance, just pure, gentle pulse. A rhythm of abundance that expands as gracefully as you yourself are expanding, not faster than you're ready for, but precisely as much as you are now beautifully, courageously open to receive. The magnificent, abundant life you are building, Taurus, isn't rooted in fleeting fantasy. It's the natural, inevitable result of finally, lovingly coming home to your truest self. Not the self that's constantly focused on surviving, but the radiant, resilient self that has learned, with grace and wisdom, how to truly allow. This is wealth as pure resonance, dear Taurus. Not something you frantically chase, but something you gracefully become. And as that profound becoming gently settles into your body, the next wave of abundance begins to move, not urgently, not loudly, but undeniably, powerfully real. It arrives without fanfare, without ceremony, asking only that you remain open enough, present enough, to truly feel its beautiful, transformative shape. There is something deeply sacred, isn't there, about truly returning, not to what once was, not to a nostalgic memory of the past, but to the spacious sanctuary within yourself that has been quietly, patiently waiting to be lived in fully, completely, joyfully. Taurus, you've always known how to stay grounded, how to anchor yourself, how to be the unwavering one who holds everything together. But now, you are no longer holding everything in. You are gently, gracefully, allowing the abundant world to come to meet you, lovingly, wholeheartedly, without you having to ask twice. The old familiar floor hasn't disappeared, it's simply settled deeper, steadier, more secure. And now you stand taller upon it. What once felt like a restrictive ceiling has now become your solid, expansive root. And from that deeply grounded place, everything truly begins to open. Not in a sudden burst, not in a frantic rush, but in the quiet, gentle way, light softly filters into a room that has finally, beautifully been aired out. What you are stepping into now, Taurus, isn't simply more. It's clearer. It's not louder, it's cleaner. You're not chasing abundance, you're allowing it to gracefully arrive on its own 2 feet, unannounced, yet somehow, perfectly, divinely on time. You're no longer folding your desires into hesitant whispers. You're breathing them fully into the walls of your home, into your mirror, into the radiant morning light. The house you return to each day isn't necessarily new, but you are. And so, everything within it naturally, organically, rearranges itself, not because it must, but because it finally, beautifully can. The silence in your home no longer echoes with loneliness. It hums with peaceful anticipation. The corners no longer feel heavy, they simply hold spaciousness. The window doesn't just stare blankly outward, it gently invites the world in. And that door, left just barely ajar, is no longer something to anxiously guard, but something to deeply, intuitively trust. There is no need to grip tightly onto what is truly meant to stay, Taurus. There is no need to frantically chase what already knows its destined path to you. Not all wealth arrives as mere numbers on a screen. Some wealth arrives as a deeper, more expansive breath, as profound inner stillness, as the quiet, liberating feeling that you are not truly missing anything in this present moment, not even yourself. And when you consciously allow the space around you to beautifully reflect the spaciousness within you, the natural flow of abundance gently returns, not as a turbulent wave to desperately ride, but as a harmonious rhythm to joyfully live inside. You no longer need to prove what's already powerfully pulsing within your energetic field, Taurus. You no longer need to endlessly earn what you have already magnificently become. And maybe, just maybe, without even consciously meaning to, you've just beautifully, gracefully made room for everything that has been patiently circling your orbit to finally come in, to finally sit down, to finally stay. Not because you begged it to stay, not because you forced anything into being, but simply because you allowed your hands, your heart, your home to remain open long enough for the abundant energy of the universe to finally recognize home. If you feel that familiar, subtle shift within you, like something profound has gently moved into place, leave a comment below, softly saying, "I receive what's ready." Thank you, from the depths of my heart, for being here with me, not just in this moment, but in the sacred space you are so intentionally, so beautifully creating. May you find an inner peace that settles in deeply. May your natural flow of abundance move freely and joyfully, and may a quiet, unexpected opportunity gently arrive when you least anticipate it. If this message resonated deeply within your soul, share it gently with your fellow Taurus souls. Subscribe to the Inner Secrets if it feels like effortless ease. And stay close, dear Taurus. This incredible journey of abundance and self-discovery is still beautifully, powerfully unfolding.